Hey, blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today's read was out of Job. We were in chapters 29 through 31. And man, as I read this, Job, at first, he's looking back on his past and how glorious things were and how he was so highly respected. And he was a righteous man. People loved and respected him. And then in verse 30, he starts talking about the change from where he was in the past to where he is now, and he's just humiliated by the circumstances that he's in. And he goes on to complain and say, that he was really just in what he did, and he understands he lived a righteous life, but um, we know that he didn't live a perfect life because no man does. And just that thought of him looking back, and it seems to me that he's just really putting himself in a favorable light in a position. And whether he was all that perfect or not, I don't know. I didn't live the life. I wasn't there. But as I got done with 29 through 31, I thought, well, gee, what is my takeaway from this? And I, introspectively thinking about my life and my career, and thinking, yeah, when I would drive home after a long shift, I would replay the day's events in my mind, make sure I did everything I was supposed to, that my paperwork was complete, and sure I've notified this person or that, and but usually by the time I got done with that, it would wind up being me reflecting on the people that I dealt with, and if there were some bad characters or criminals, just thinking about how bad they were, and which makes me much better than them, but I would get into that sometimes, and I would have to really shake myself out of that. But it reminded me of a story I want to tell you real quick. It won't take long, but there was we'll just say an incident that happened where a man was beating up his girlfriend. We put the guy in jail. I did all the paperwork. By the time I'm leaving the station for the end of my shift, and I had to stay over to finish it all, he was already out. He beat me out, okay? He beat me sitting in the lobby waiting for a ride. But as I walked by, just disgusted with him and the fact that I had to stay late because of him, blah, 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 I remember I carried gospel tracts in my pocket, and I remember taking one out of my uniform and giving it to him and saying, "You need to read this," and just walked out and got in my car, and I thought, man, what a great job I did. I'm a good Christian because I gave him a gospel tract, and he's such a scumbag. And I got about halfway down the block. I mean, I got out of the parking lot, but I got about halfway down the block, and the conviction just washed over me of what a freaking hypocrite you are, Chuck Gilliland. You think you're better than that guy? I mean, you don't have any sin in your life. You don't do things wrong. And I got really convicted. Turned around, drove back to the station, took my uniform off, went in, apologized to him, and said, "Hey, look, I'm not on duty. Can I sit down with you and talk?" And he was open to that. So I sat down, asked him if I could see the gospel tract, and then with sincerity and honesty and a love for this guy, shared the gospel with him. Um, and man, we joke about it and call them kumbaya moments, but we had a moment when it was done where, man, I had such love and affection for him and him towards me. Talking about getting back into church. He wanted to go to church with me. I lived 2 hours away from the location. I said, "You're welcome to drive down." But anyway, we got him in church. We kept in touch a little bit, but God reminded me, and I'm so grateful that He reminded me, you're thinking way too highly of yourself. You think you're better than all these people just because you're a police officer. Um, and I've got to guard against that. And I think we all in law enforcement have to guard against that. And we have to be honest with ourselves, with who we are. We enforce the law. We uphold justice. That's what we do. That's our job. But we still have to be compassionate, merciful, and wise. Truly understanding what's going on, who people are, and that, yeah, they're broken and fallen, and we see them in bad times. Doesn't mean we have to treat them like I did with this guy. I'm like, "You're a you're a pitiful excuse for a human being. Here's a gospel tract. Go save yourself. That was just wrong, and I'm so glad God called me on it. And I learned a very valuable lesson from that encounter and moving forward in my life and in my career. But anyway, Job was a good read today. Tomorrow we're in Job 32 through 34. So read ahead. Let's get some law enforcement takeaways from this, and be safe. I'll see you tomorrow.